Steeler Nation, what's up? Before we dive into today's massive breaking update, let me start with this. Your Pittsburgh Steelers are working every single day to improve, to adjust, and to push for the results this fan base deserves. We're chasing greatness, we're fixing mistakes, and we're refusing to back down from any challenge. And hey, before we jump into this roller coaster of news about Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Mason Rudolph, and even Jamar Chase, smash that like button right now so more Steeler fans can join the conversation. It really helps the channel grow, and today's story is one every member of Steeler Nation needs to hear. All right, let's get into it. The Steelers walked into halftime of Week 11 with a comfortable lead and zero indication that their 41-year-old quarterback was injured. Aaron Rodgers jogged into the locker room looking calm. No limp, no frustration, no tape, no grimacing. He didn't show a single outward sign of trouble. But then, the truth dropped like a bombshell. Rodgers had injured his left hand, specifically his wrist and thumb area, on the final drive before halftime. And in a stunning turn of events, the Steelers made the decision to hold him out for the entire second half of the game. He wanted to play. He tried to play. He asked to go back in, but the team said no. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk delivered the key update. I'm told he actually tried to come back in the game. They didn't let him play. They're going to have imaging examinations tomorrow to determine the extent of the injury. That sentence right there changes absolutely everything. Because this wasn't Rodgers being cautious. This wasn't Rodgers stepping aside. This wasn't Rodgers protecting himself. This was Pittsburgh pulling the plug and saying, we are not risking our season or your health in a game we can win without you. And Steeler Nation, that decision paid off. With Rodgers sidelined, backup quarterback Mason Rudolph took the field. And let me tell you, he delivered exactly what the team needed. Rudolph completed 75% of his passes, threw for 127 yards, and added a touchdown. No turnovers, no panic, no hero ball. Just efficient, controlled, steady football. He kept the offense moving, he protected the ball, he extended drives, and he refused to give Cincinnati life. That's what a winning backup does. And for a team fighting for playoff position, his performance wasn't just good. It was essential. Because if Rodgers' hand injury turns out to be more serious than it looked, the entire season could rest on Rudolph or Will Howard stepping into that spotlight. But here's the twist. Even after the game, even after being held out, Rodgers still believed he could have finished the game. He was seen celebrating with teammates, smiling, and wearing what looked like a small brace on his left hand. So how bad is it? Is this a pain management issue, or is this something structurally serious? That brings us to the newest and most shocking detail. Yes, you read that correctly. New reports, including from Ian Rappaport, reveal that Rodgers has a broken bone in his left wrist, and despite that, he is pushing aggressively to play in Week 22 against the Chicago Bears. And we all know why. Rodgers has dominated the Bears for 2 decades. He's trolled them, he's mocked them, he's celebrated on their field. And earlier this year, when he was teasing Steeler fans about a possible signing, the Bears were one of the first teams he mentioned as a matchup he wanted. This game matters to him. This rivalry fuels him. And even at 41, with a damaged wrist, he wants that smoke. But hold on. The Chicago Bears are no joke this season. Sitting at 7-3, leading the NFC North and playing their best football in almost a decade, they are not the same team Rodgers beat up on for years. This is a real test, a playoff-level challenge, and the Steelers might have to face them without their legendary quarterback. The coaches will have to make a critical decision. Protect Rodgers or unleash him. Trust Rudolph or gamble with Rodgers at less than 100%. That decision may define the rest of the season. While everyone was waiting for updates on Rodgers, another headline exploded. Jamar Chase has officially been suspended 1 game. And guess why? because it was determined that Chase spit on Steeler DB Jalen Ramsey during Sunday's game, an act that directly led to Ramsey's furious reaction and eventual ejection. The NFL's official statement reads, Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase has been suspended without pay for 1 game for an act of unsportsmanlike conduct. During the fourth quarter, Chase spit on Pittsburgh cornerback Jalen Ramsey, violating Rule 12 regarding sportsmanship. Let's be clear. Ramsey threw a punch. Ramsey got ejected. Ramsey deserves criticism for losing his cool. But Chase? Spitting on a player is next-level disrespect, and the league agreed. He will miss Cincinnati's Week 22 matchup against New England, returning November 24th. This week's combination of a Rodgers injury, a QB decision looming, a dominant win, a disciplined backup stepping up, and the league siding with Pittsburgh on the Ramsey Chase incident creates one of the most volatile, dramatic moments of the season. Here's what matters most. 1. Rodgers wants to play, and badly. He's pushing for medical clearance. He's pushing himself physically. He sees Week 12 as personal. 2. The team may have to protect him from himself. A broken wrist at 41 against one of the most aggressive defenses in the NFC? That's a risk with consequences. 3. Mason Rudolph showed he can win games. He doesn't need to be spectacular. He needs to be stable. And on Sunday, he was exactly that. 4. The defense gets justice with Chase's suspension. Ramsey shouldn't have punched, but Chase crossed a line too. The NFL acknowledging that matters. 5. Week 12 just became season-defining. A win puts the Steelers firmly in the playoff race. A loss, especially without Rodgers, complicates everything. The scoreboard says 34-12 Pittsburgh. It looks dominant. It looks convincing. It looks like a team hitting its stride offensively. But behind the numbers, there's a storyline Steeler Nation can't ignore. Jalen Warren, the most explosive player in this backfield, once again took a backseat. And yes, we know he suffered that ankle injury early in the game and later returned. But even before the injury, the Steelers were clearly shifting touches towards Kenneth Gainwell. And that is a problem. Let's just look at the split. Warren, 10 carries. Gainwell, 9 carries. Feels balanced, right? But it shouldn't be. Not when one of these players is averaging 6.2 yards per carry and the other is averaging 2.4 yards per carry. Not when one of them is your most polished, efficient, dangerous runner and the other is still finding his identity on the ground. And definitely not when one of them has been your most consistent offensive weapon over the last month. But the situation isn't that simple because Kenneth Gainwell had a huge receiving day. Let's give credit where it's due. Gainwell had 81 receiving yards, the highest of his career by a wide margin, plus 2 touchdowns, becoming one of the biggest reasons Pittsburgh blew this game open. He was electric. He was decisive. He was productive in space. He gave the offense a spark.
In fact, this wasn't even his first big performance this season. Remember Week 4? Against the Vikings with Warren out, Gainwell put up 134 yards from scrimmage with 2 rushing touchdowns. So the coaches clearly see something. They trust his versatility. They trust his ability in open space. They trust him as a receiver. No question, Gainwell has earned snaps. But the issue isn't Gainwell. It's the balance. Because even with all those positives, let's be honest, Jalen Warren should not be sharing carries equally with anyone, unless he's physically limited. He's too explosive, too efficient, too reliable, too important. Look at the last 6 weeks. Warren has averaged 4.7 yards per carry or more in 5 of those games. He's consistently breaking tackles, hitting lanes hard, and producing chunk plays. He's not just a runner either. He has over 300 receiving yards in each of the last 2 seasons, and he's already at 219 this year. This is a complete back, a top-tier playmaker, a player who can change games. And yet, he's still not being treated like the feature back. Why? Is Mike Sullivan leaning too heavily into Gainwell's versatility? Are the Steelers trying to preserve Warren's workload for late-season durability? Or is this ankle injury more serious than the team wants to admit? Whatever the reason, the rotation simply doesn't match Warren's level of production. Let's make one thing absolutely clear. Kenneth Gainwell should have a role. He should get touches. He should be used as a mismatch in the passing game. But the Steelers cannot afford to push Warren aside. Because this offense, especially with Aaron Rodgers nursing a wrist injury, needs balance. It needs physicality. It needs a running back who can move the chains on tough plays and punish defenses late in games. That's Warren's game. That's who he is. That's who this offense runs through when it's at its best. If he is even close to 100%, there is no reason why he and Gainwell should ever split carries evenly again. And that brings us to Week 22. Steeler Nation, this is the moment where everything sharpens. We're talking about a quarterback fighting to play through a broken wrist, a backup proving he can manage a game, a defense trying to regain identity, a huge suspension in a division rivalry, and a critical Week 22 matchup against the tough, surging Bears team. So now I'm turning it over to you, the heartbeat of this franchise. Should the Steelers let Aaron Rodgers play through a broken wrist? Or should they protect him and start Mason Rudolph in Week 22? And what do you think of Jamar Chase's suspension? Fair or not enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll read every single one. And before you go, if you love these deep breakdowns, these exclusive team updates, and this kind of honest conversation with the fan base, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a Steelers update. Thank you for watching, Steeler Nation. Here we go. Always.